Cereal pudding? Hey? No, it's the middle of the day. Just been thinking a little bit about a few things, you know. The other day, I was at my parents' place having an evening meal, and the brother-in-law, he was there as well, and that was a day where I had more than 4.5 hours on the road, and yeah, most days 2.5 to 3 hours commute time, but that was 3 hours and 15 minutes just in the return trip because of the traffic debacle. He done a quick bit of analysis, and he said, "What's your standard time?" I said, "Oh, about 3 hours, hour and a half each way." And he done the maths, and he said, "Well, off the bat, that's 15 hours a week." I said, "Well, actually, recently I've been there 6 days a week, so it's even more." But he's right, I average 15 hours a week driving. Now, remember, once upon a time, I sort of said, like, around here there's no real jobs that are worth having. Not many, anyway. Well, almost none around here. And even in other areas, the jobs are so thin on the ground. There's a lot of different areas a lot of different major businesses that have closed in an area that's not terribly far from me. So the reality is that I've just got to go to the capital. And I sort of looked at it almost like as though a truck driver looks at a truck. If you go in, well, I want to start my own trucking business. Well, what are we going to do? You got like $300,000 to buy the, truck and a trailer, maybe 2 trailers. Have you got that, like $200,000 plus? Maybe even, depends what truck you're going to get. Depends how new your trailer is or whatever. Are you going to pay anything for that sort of a, out of your own pocket? No. Oh, I could get a loan for it. Yeah, bro, you don't have a job. How are you going to get a loan for that? Essentially speaking, a lot of owner-drivers have to lease their trucks. And it's a high cost to lease your truck, and you get paid a decent amount for trucking, but then by the time you pay the lease off on your truck, you don't have a great deal left. But all the same, it's just part and parcel of having the job is that you're going to have to pay the lease money for the truck. And as much as I realised I was going to have a fuel bill that was fairly high, in order to easily have a job... What the fuck is a cat biscuit on the ground? In order to easily have a job, or easily get jobs, I was going to have to go to the capital. And that was going to mean that I was going to spend a lot on fuel. But it was just one of these things. I just realised it was going to have to be part and parcel of the whole situation. Just as a truck driver realises that they're going to have to pay off a fairly hefty lease on a truck, or they don't have the job at all. And that same type of thing, was the case. I'm going to have to pay a fair amount in fuel, but if I don't, I'm not going to have a damn job. But the thing is, the job itself is covering the fuel, so it doesn't really matter. And sort of now I look at it and, my commute time is astronomical. Like the brother-in-law said, all things going well, it's never going to be less than 12 hours a week. The reality is it's probably never going to be less than about 13.5 hours a week, with a 5-day week. And it is what it is. And if there's any debacles, well, it blows out to bloody, 20 hours or more, And you just think, holy smoke. I remember when I was at the piggery, I was working 20 to 25 hours a week. I mean, you know, like, most of my work week was 20 hours. And yet if we have one traffic prang per week, that's the amount of time my commute blows out to. Often enough, it'll be damn near 20 hours a week. So I spend the same time driving if I work 6 days a week, or if there's a traffic debacle or something like that. It's not unknown that I'm going to spend as many hours driving, or maybe 5 less hours driving, than I spent working when I was working at the piggery. That is astronomical. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole fucking part-time job there. That is honestly a part-time job in the amount of hours that I drive. You know, there's a lot of these, well, like, I'll put it like this. I've got a cousin who, you know, she works in a cafe in the breakfast shift, and I think that's 3 hours a week, 3 hours a day. And basically speaking, you know, she's working about 15 hours a week, maybe 20 hours a week. What she works as her job, she's still living at home with her parents, but what she works as her day job is the same amount that I spend sitting behind a steering wheel just driving back and forward to my job. That's quite a wake-up call when you actually do the numbers on it all, and you think, fuck me, this is like literally like my cousin's part-time job worth of driving. Honestly, you know, you just think, fucking what? You know, 15 hours is a standard week, you know, with no traffic blowouts. You know, you just sit there going, whoo, man, this is crazy. And it is, it's crazy. You know, there's more to it though than that. Like I said, the cost of fuel. What happens when you're driving? Okay, well, you're sitting there behind the steering wheel and the engine's running, usually about 1900 RPM, and I'm going through fuel. And every minute that I'm driving, I'm burning through fuel. And what is fuel? Fuel is money. It costs money. And, you know what? Ooh. So that means I spend 15 hours a week burning up fuel, which costs me money. You know, it's probably $1 every 10 minutes worth of driving, but I don't know what the thing is on that. But I do know, as I've just said, the fuel cost is fairly high, but I was willing to take on that fuel cost with the idea of, well, at least it's easy to get jobs down here. And, you know, they're good jobs. And this is the thing, you know. The big question is, I was willing to take on that fuel cost as part of the job, but if I don't need to run up that fuel cost, why should I run up that fuel cost? Why should I waste those 15 hours a week? Why should I put in like $100 of propane a week into this thing, you know? And, you know, it is what it is. But the thing is, if I'm living in a van, it doesn't need to be that. And so there's your major cost there. Because there's some things that I've learnt along life's merry little way. Now, you know, I've always had business ideas, you know. I've seen more recently, I've realised that some people are in businesses that they, you know, want to try and retire or at least take a back seat to the amount of work they have been doing. Oh shit, I've got roses. I didn't even realise. Bloody hell. I thought it was past rose time. Anyway, I've realised that, like, just from what I've been taught in processes and production lines, you know, and even reading this book that my father gave me, you know, about the life of Henry Ford, you know, I can see a lot of businesses where they just do the job, but they could production line their work to save a lot of money and speed things up dramatically. Now, the reality is, you get somebody who's ready to retire, or getting near retiring age, they're not going to change their processes. You'll tell them, you'll show them how. And they go, oh, that's all right, but I'm used to doing it this way. And they keep doing it the same old way. Plus, you're giving them the goose that lays the golden eggs. Might be an idea one day in the future to do work whereby I subcontract one of the major processes and major parts of a business, and I subcontract it. And instead of doing it there one bit at a time, one by one individual slow method, I'll apply what I know of production line design and organisation, because that is the one thing I do have a half-assed qualification in, to that process. I'll production line the process, and then I've got the goose that lays the golden eggs. And, long story short, you'd have to write up a hell of a contract with a lot of conditions and bits and pieces and all the if, buts and maybes of things not working right or whatever. But having said that, I would then get to manage it myself and put production line aspect to it and speed up the process, I think, quite easily 5 times the speed it is, because I see the way some of these things go and I know they can be done far better. And Henry Ford was messing around with, ignition parts in the T-model Ford, and he realised that by changing the production lines and having sub-assembly lines and stuff like that, he actually managed to speed up the production 12 times, like 12-fold the speed. Long story short, what I'm saying is, if it doesn't take much equipment, I think that might be a business opportunity in the future. But there's something else I've learnt, and that is, it's not so much about what you earn, it's what you spend. And every time you can work out a way to change your spending, you got all these people out there, it's not that. The problem is I need more money. I need more money. I need more. I need more money. I need more money. And they don't need more money at all. All they need to do is just stop blowing and wasting what they're getting. Because the one thing that you've got at the moment is a job with a set income. And instead of trying to work out how you're going to make more money, why don't you go and work out what you can do to spend less money, and then you're automatically going to have more money because you didn't spend as much. This is where I always argue that having a wood heater, especially if you're out here, and even if you're not out here, I worked for a damn framing company that done prefabricated house frames. Every week we used to throw out, actually, I think it was 2 per week, 12 metres square or 16 metres, some huge size dumpsters of wood offcuts, 95% of which was not treated pine. And we were having these massive, fucking enormous 2 big dumpsters every week emptied out, every week. And it was astronomical. And they had a wood heater there, and I'd turn up in the morning and the frickin' lunchroom be there, and they'd be had to have it absolutely choking to death with hardwood, not the softwood. They'd have the hardwood offcuts absolutely choking in this thing, I don't know how the fuck he fitted so much into it. I mean, it was literally stacked to the roof inside this thing, and the flames would be roaring like fuck, And and people are going to be, but it'd be no good for us to have wood heaters because we're in the city. We're not like you out in the country. Yeah, but this is the thing. This timber framing thing was like literally right next to suburbs worth of houses. Like literally, you went another half a mile and it was the middle of suburbia, and they'd let people come in and pick wood out of it all the damn time, a couple of times a week, but there's no way they could manage to stifle it the way it was, And this is the thing, it's a bit like what I keep saying about wood heaters with everybody, If you want to drop your flaming costs of having a house, get a blasted wood heater. and it doesn't have to be a big fan. It can just be one of these bloody cast iron pot-belly stoves. Fuck, you can buy the things brand new for a few $100s. Brand new for a few $100s. You know. And I've seen these things for the equivalent of, you know, fucking 150, 170 bucks US. That'll burn wood. That'll keep you warm. If you want to put a little $10 bloody desk fan to blow on it to, you know, move the frickin' hot air around more, to spread it into other rooms or whatever, yeah, go right ahead, do that. You know, and this is the thing, the dearest part will probably be your damn chimney set up, like, because you got to have it all ridgy-dig, or at least in this country, you know. But your cost savings will be huge, and it's not so much about what you earn as what you spend. And the less you spend, you know, the better off you are. But there's all these dickheads. I mean, one guy I used to work with, fuck me, you know, he had no wife, and I mean, he originally had a daughter who had twin boys, so he was a grandfather, but, you know, this guy was like 54. He divorced within 3 years of being married, and, you know, his daughter was now in her friggin' 30s, you know, so he had no real costs or anything like that. And he owned his house, and he actually owned a second house that he'd recently sold and put into his 401k. But then he used to tell me, oh, I can't make ends meet in this work, you know, in this job. Fuck me drunk if we weren't on more then than I'm on now. You know, this is going back 2013. And he used to sort of, this was 5 years ago, you know, and I was making more back then. And he used to say to me, I can't make ends meet. What, you for real? I've got to keep dipping in my savings. Well, what do? Oh, every morning I go, you know, and have a coffee. Well, actually, it's usually 2, sometimes 3. So go to the coffee shop, you wouldn't have 1. You'd have at least 2, sometimes 3. I'm like, dude, just stay at home and make an instant coffee yourself. You know, just buy a fucking jar of coffee and just fucking make it yourself, you know? Because that shit's overpriced for no real reason. Other than the fact they're trying to run a storefront and pay rent and pay employees. And, oh, but the 2 girls that are there, they're like family to me and blah, 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 and I couldn't not go there. Oh, fuck me. Well, there's, you know, 10, 12 bucks just gone just like that. I mean, fucking hell. And like, some people are dickheads, you know? They fucking, it's almost like every chance they get, they're going to find a chance to waste money. And then it's like, oh, I can't make it. What do you mean you can't make ends meet? We're making like 880 bucks a week, for God's sake. And at the same time, there's another guy I work with, probably only, well, yeah, actually, he worked at that place for a short while too, only for a couple of weeks. And I worked with him previously in previous months at other places, because it was, you know, casual work sort of thing. And anyway, he was telling me that, was it that guy or another guy? I think it was another guy. Anyway, around that same time, there was another guy's brother who I believe had 3 kids and was paying rent, and he was on $600 a week. Wife, 3 kids and rent, $600 bucks a week, and he was making ends meet somehow. Barely. Fucking barely. And here this guy is, owns his own house, has a car that isn't worth much that he's paid off, well, he bought in cash, and he's a single guy on his own, $880 a week, and he reckons he can't make ends meet. Fuck off! It's unbelievable, some of the, you know, and this is the thing, like, so many people kill themselves by, you know, they never get rich, and it's not how much they fucking earn, it's that they waste everything they get. And all their answer is, well, we need more money. No, you just need to stop spending money on shit. You know, and this is going to be a bit of a life adjustment for me. I've realised there's then again, you know, being off grid's a bit of a life adjustment too. You get used to it. It's like everything, you know. You don't have the electricity flowing quite as fast as you otherwise would have. But, you know, this is the thing. Just like you can easily get used to quite easily get used to off-grid life, especially the fact it's so quiet, except my voice on the cat meow and the birds. It's, you know, one of these things that you can adjust to, and I think van life will be no different. It'll only be, you know, it'd be a bit of a hiccup and a bit of a, okay, rightio. And like when I first moved in here, there were teething issues, and you had to sort of think about what you do, and not just sort of bang, crash, whoops, do something. You had to think before you done things sometimes for the first couple of months, and sort of a lot of it is, plan ahead. I've got to have enough firewood in here to, keep myself warm. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Boom, boom, boom. Last night my head got cold when the wood heater ran out, so I needed a beanie to put on my head, so I'll leave the beanie beside me pillow. All these sort of things. You leave a torch, or I have those headset things, leave one of them beside your pillow, all these sort of things. And you sort of work out what you got to do, and, well, I need at least a certain amount of wood inside that isn't wet that I can at least light the wood heater with, and if I know it's going to rain because the phone tells me, look, it's going to rain the next, so many days when I look up the weather on my phone, well, then you get wood prepared and at least into the veranda, all these little things that you sort of got to think about and work out to do with, limited refrigeration options and stuff like this. But you get used to it, you get used to it. It's like everything, and I think van life will be no different. I'll get around to it, and I'll work out how to do it all, and it looks like I might be having a lot of showers in the van because aside from those damn beach showers, which I can probably get to, I don't think there's fuck all showers around unless you're forking damn near $80 a month for this gym. What the fuck happened to like these US gyms, $20 a month? What the fuck happened to that? Wish I could have that sort of shit here, because that would be worth it, It looks like I'm going to be having a lot. I calculated the amount of water that I use up for a short shower, and it's done so less than I ever thought it was. Because I know the flow rates and everything like that, but this is the thing, you think of these things out, and there's a lot of things with van life and off-grid life that involves a lot of containers and a lot of buckets. Buckets of firewood. When I was first here, I didn't even have plumbing installed, and I used to have to go out to the corner tank that collects rainwater with a container, and fuck me drunk if I didn't even have a U-bend to point it down so it'd spray out directly like horizontal. Well, I very soon worked out that maybe I should, fix that up, and then I got a turn. I found I had pipe fittings around here that were copper, and I just slowly kneaded this pipe around to point straight down, and then I could stick the container, woof, come in here, I'll refill it to another larger container with a little tap on the bottom, which would actually lean off of this thing here, off of this table, and see how the sink stops here, or the basin stops here, and that sits there. It would sit on top of this, and I'd have a little tap out here, and I could just turn it on and wash my hands and do my stuff, and I'd have to go out there and fill it up. And then the shower actually ran from IBCs that were all stuck out near where the plum tree is, And it's like all these things, in due course, you get used to it all, you work around it. But I think I'm going to save a lot of time, and on top of that, a lot of fuel money. But more time than fuel money, but all the same, I'm not complaining that I'm not going to waste so much on fuel, because, I'm pouring a lot of fuel into this car out here, and, suddenly I get that money back, suddenly I get, more time to sleep and do things like that, and free time to myself. And I'm sure in due course I'll find things that I can do sitting in the van, like probably get all this mint, lemon verbena that still isn't processed, go around the corner, and you probably can't see it, but mint that also isn't processed. I think things like that you could take care of big time, just sitting in a van, just doing inside jobs, sitting in the back of a van, and cops will pull up and probably think I'm processing weed or something like this. But anyway, that's or I can sit in the van and mooch free Wi-Fi from the business I'm parked at the front of. like they all do. But anyway, that's just a few thoughts on saving time and saving money in one fell move that may take a bit of initial cost up, but over time, you know, maybe over a couple of years, you're going to save that money in fuel costs, but most of all, you're going to save it in just sitting there like a freaking idiot, not going anywhere. You know, I never knock back overtime, and this time, well, I'll be able to do plenty of overtime if I ever get asked to, but we don't seem to have that much overtime going on a regular basis. But, you know, all the same, I won't be sort of running out of sleep or anything like that. And I probably, if I made more of a point here of getting to bed earlier and not playing around on my phone as much, I could get, you know, more sleep in. But at the same token, you know, there's times where I get back here and you got an hour's worth of free time, literally an hour's worth, before you got to start getting ready to go to bed. What the fuck happened to my afternoon? What the fuck happened to my time after work that I'm, you know, it's just gone. Sitting behind a steering wheel, rolling down a freeway. So yeah, that's that.